My name's Lucy. I'm 23 and I've been living in Bromley for about 23 years.
Okay. When did you actually start getting involved in volunteering?
Initially I got involved in volunteering when I turned 13. I'd always been a beneficiary of a local chapter of a charity called the National Deaf Children's Society. So initially I was involved with the activities from the age of about 7 as a beneficiary or service user. But at 13 I started to become more involved in assisting with events, so helping organise tables, chairs, contributing to panels of discussion about different activities that could take place. And then at about 15 I became a youth ambassador for the National Deaf Children's Society. So I attended local schools, community groups, sports clubs in the area and talked about sort of barriers to access that young people face who are suffering with hearing loss or deafness. So that was quite an interesting role.
What sort of age range of people volunteer with you at the National Deaf Awareness?
Well, I think at the National Deaf Awareness there were a lot more younger people volunteering, but in later and other voluntary sort of experiences that I undertook, the age range was mainly above 40, I'd say pretty much retirement age, or alternatively parents with older children who had a little bit of spare time. So I think if I hadn't gotten into it through a sort of youth avenue at that point, I wouldn't have found that opening to get involved with volunteering. When I was 16, I started volunteering at a local charity shop. And I've got to admit, I didn't stay there for very long. I found that the age range was much older, and I found that there was no sort of awareness perhaps of the different sort of issues I might face as a young person, or that I might be slightly nervous, unsure of what to do. There wasn't that same amount of guidance.
Well, it sounds really like volunteering takes up a major part of your life. What's the most rewarding aspect of volunteering for you?
I think there's a lot of rewarding aspects. From a social perspective, it gives you the opportunity to go out and to meet people that you might not necessarily come across, whether they be fellow volunteers or service users. And also I think there's that feeling of not only giving something back to people and learning about different situations that people face, but there's also the aspect that actually that can encourage you into knowing what your strengths are, what your weaknesses are, the things you're interested in, sometimes the things you're not interested in. Personally, I found I was more involved with learning about things like research and policy, and I'm now actually working as a policy officer. So that's definitely encouraged me to know where my strengths lie and the things that I'm interested in.
So what advice would you give to maybe other youngsters who are looking for something to do in the volunteer sector?
There's a website now called Do It, which is very good. Because it gives you the chance to identify the things you're interested in. So you can actually find more opportunities than maybe the ones that are necessarily always brought to mind. For instance, volunteering in a charity shop. That may be very good if you want to learn some retail experience, but possibly you want to get more involved in sort of frontline activity, engaging with people. And those opportunities are actually far more clearly set out on this website. I think the other thing I would suggest is actually being able to see it as something you could do with friends or family. So you don't have, if you're a little bit nervous, you don't have to be the only one going there and seeing it for yourself, learning. I have a friend who actually started working at a charity shop and she found it all a little bit nerve-wracking, but she actually found that one of her friends was interested in doing the same thing. So the two of them sort of approached it as a sort of a slightly social thing, something they were doing together. And actually it was a much more positive experience for them because they had that sort of support there to encourage each other on to do it. So I think actually knowing that it's not something you necessarily have to approach as an individual, but also knowing that you can build very positive relationships with the people you meet in volunteering too.